What I'm about to share with you was never meant to leave our private mastermind. In the next 60 minutes, I'm going to reveal the exact business growth framework that helped my clients generate millions in additional revenue last year alone. Not theory, not concepts, not outdated tactics that worked before the market shifted. This is a raw, unfiltered breakdown from our $20,000 person mastermind that happened just over 2 weeks ago. I brought my highest performing clients to Dubai, not for the views, not for the yacht, but to extract and systematize the core principles that create wealth in today's economy. Most online coaches are stuck working in their business rather than on it. They're overwhelmed, understaffed, and one bad month away from serious trouble. Meanwhile, the online coaches on this yacht are working few hours while scaling faster using two systems I'm about to show you. One is the spiderweb marketing technique that generates leads while you sleep. Two is the leverage automation systems that convert those leads without your involvement. If you're tired of being the bottleneck in your business, if you're exhausted from consistently hunting your next client, and if you want to finally build a business that grows without requiring more of your time, then I suggest you cancel your next meeting and watch this entire video right now. But I need to be transparent. The content is controversial. What I'm about to share directly contradicts what most business gurus are teaching. It exposes the fatal flaws in conventional marketing wisdom in fitness. Some people might get angry, others will dismiss it entirely, but the results will speak for themselves. Here's exactly what you'll discover in the next few minutes. The 3 critical leverage points that 90% of online coaches are completely ignoring. My spiderweb marketing technique that creates 11 touch points for every single marketing dollar. The automated lead flow system that converts prospects at 3 to 4 times the industry average. And the exact implementation timeline that delivers results within 27 days. Let's dive in.
Thank you for the very kind intro, Aidan. Firstly, as always, we have a competition to win $200 Gymshark gift card voucher. All you very simply need to do is tag us on your stories. We will pick the best story at the end of the day. Now, 3 agreements you will have. Number 1 is you want to focus on fixing one big problem at this event. Number 2, talk with as many people as possible. As yes, you'll get value from speaking to me, you'll get value from the talks, but a lot of the real value comes from the small conversations you have around the coffee machine. And then, thirdly, stay open-minded. So one of the huge things you need to do is not have a closed mind. And I think one of the number 1 reasons people aren't successful is arrogance. They think they know everything. The online market is changing faster than ever, so you have to be open-minded to testing and trying new things. And this is one of the big things we'll talk about today. Who am I? Former failed personal trainer. This was me in 2008 at the Gym Group. I became an estate agent. I then built one of the largest fitness businesses in the world. We've sold over $60 million of products online. Recently got an award in Las Vegas with Russell Brunson for ClickFunnels. And then let's go back to October 2021. This is quite a cool photo. Now, one of the most valuable things you can do in life when something doesn't happen the way you want is reframe the situation as an opportunity. So when I come into this, one of the things you want to think about is scale isn't about doing more, it's about removing everything that isn't worth doing. And I think one of the things a lot of people don't get the growth they want in their business is they have like entrepreneurial ADHD. They try and do everything and they're not really focused on what they're doing. So what you want to do is really singularity focus down to what actually works and what's going to make you money. This is October 21. I don't know if I've really posted these. I was in the worst shape I've ever been in. I just had gyno surgery, it wasn't a particularly pleasant experience. And I could have been very down in the dumps about this situation. Not ideal, couldn't really work out, this kind of sucked. Now, ironically, what happened the next month after, I saw this as an opportunity. I had nothing else to do other than work on my business. The next month, we did over $330,000 in 1 month, and we fucking exploded. Now, probably 2 years before that in my full-time job, I was probably making $3,000 to $4,000 a month. So I 100x my monthly income in 2 years. And which is pretty wild when you think about it. And I think this is a huge testimony down to singularity focus and not getting distracted, but also looking at reframing the situation in terms of what you have going on right now. So if you have something in terms of that's not going the way you want, try and look about what you can learn from this. I know that's one of the things JP touched upon, but everything is an opportunity and you have to think about this thing's happening to me and it's trying to teach me a lesson and it's going to force me to get better. And you can't have growth and comfort at the same time. Like you pick one or the other. So if everything feels easy and you feel very comfortable and like you're in cruise control, you will not be growing. Because the price of the first is the second. And it's something you have to think about. Like if you're feeling overwhelmed, you feel tired and you feel stressed, like that is normal if you're looking to try and push yourself and get better. Now, if we look at the big levers to scale this year, we've got to first understand what leverage is. So leverage is achieving outsized results with minimal effort by using systems, capital, media, technology, or people to multiply impact and scale. One of the reasons people crush it and grow so quickly when they come work with us at seven-figure scaling systems is you suddenly become not the fool with many hands doing everything. You start to put people in place and systems, so then things just happen without you. And I think back to when I felt like I completed the game, when I had someone who was going to book a sales call, someone take the sales call, close it, and then someone coach them, and I'm not involved. When you get to that point, you actually have a business where you can go on holiday, go to Maldives, do whatever you want, and things will continue to flow, and that's ultimately the goal we want to be getting to. And if we look at what leverage is from Archimedes, if you give me a lever long enough and a fulcrum on which to place it, like, you can move the world. And that's really what you need to think about, that if you create enough leverage in your business, and with some of the things you can do, you can have a huge amount of impact by just pressing a button. And I'm going to show you in this talk some of the systems we're using right now, some of the things you can implement, where you can push a button and get huge amounts of traffic and impact. Now, one of the things you have to do when you're thinking about using leverage in your business, you're thinking about being time efficient, and you're thinking about singularity of focus, is look at your business as an investor. And there's a couple of different reasons for this. You have finite resources to allocate in terms of your own time, money, and also your team's time. Because no matter who you are a human being, and there's only so many hours you will work, and you can grind and you can grind, eventually you will get burned out. So you have to understand that these are finite things you can deploy and use them wisely. And if you look at all self-made billionaires, so you've got Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, where do they all start? The exact same position you are, but with basically nothing. And what they basically did is they allocated their resources effectively that made them successful. They had absolutely everything you did at the same time from the beginning, but they just used their time differently and focused on the right things. Now, the biggest needle mover in your business, you're already doing. So I think I spoke to James about this before, for this talk. Everyone's looking for sometimes the magic silver bullet. The magic silver bullet you've probably already got in the gun, you're just not firing. And you're just taking shots at empty rounds. And this is where you have to be very intentional with where you put your time and effort and not just get dragged into doing the next red shiny object. Now, way to think about this is more, better, new. So like, can you do more of what you're doing? Can you improve that? And then go to something new once you've maxed out. So if you have a strategy that's working, before you get to red shiny object syndrome of doing a new thing, just focus on doing that and maximizing as much as possible from that. Some great examples of that, I think Don Wendy, like, you've got a strategy, for example, with ads that's crushing right now. Like, you can just turn up leads on demand. But that's not a problem for you now. Your problem is now actually a sales team. So you have to focus the problem you have at hand and not get drawn into red shiny object. And I corrected you yesterday when you were like, oh, maybe I should start targeting the US. I'm like, dude, you don't need fucking more leads or calls from America. You just need someone who can take the calls. So sometimes you just need to be reframed back to the thing that's actually causing you a problem. If anyone likes Monopoly, that's a favorite game. So basically, you do not pass go, do not go to the next red shiny object until you've optimized and dialed in what's currently working for you right now. And why? Statistically, only 1 in 3 new strategies works. Like, it's important to try new things, which we're going to come on to, but when you bring in a new strategy into your business, you don't know if it's going to work in a week, 2 weeks. Generally, like, if you have a slightly bigger business as well, it's going to take 4 to 6 months. And our job at seven-figure scaling systems is, respectfully, to stop you doing stupid shit and keep you in line with what you should be doing and give you the path of least resistance to where you want to be. And when you're looking at allocating resources, this is roughly what you think about doing. 60% on, like, literally what's working right now, 20% on improving that, and then, respectfully, 20% on fucking around trying new things. What most people do is they probably put 50, 60% into trying new things, and their business starts to go backwards because they get distracted by the red shiny object. And this is probably one of the most profound things, like, we've just started working with Alex Hormozy and their team at acquisition.com. He said something to me along these lines, and I was like, shit, this is so obvious. And this is what I say to you, like, the reframe of the importance of this is huge. Think right now what actually works in business, what brings in calls, what makes you money, how can I do more of that, how can I improve that system, how can I just rinse and repeat that as much as possible before I go on to something else. But it's also important to remember this. If you never try new strategies, your business will never grow and you also get left behind. Because like I said earlier on, times are changing. Like, the shit people used to post in 2019, 2020, and I actually saw someone doing this the other day and actually messaged them and been like, I know who taught you this because it's the same thing from like 5 years ago, it doesn't work anymore. Like putting up a like static image, which isn't that great with like a poor caption, it's not gonna get you leads. Like you have to move for the times. And something to think about is you're actually building two businesses. So with the two businesses you have, you're building the business you have today, and then more importantly, the business you have tomorrow. Because everyone is in this room because you're growth-minded, you want to improve, which is where you have to think about where am I going, how am I going to get there, and also analyze and reflect all of the time. Now, what can you add to your business to scale? This is the fun stuff. But before we actually get into that, we need to know the problem we need to solve. And this is also where it gets interesting, because the reason most people don't scale their business is they focus on trying to fix the wrong problem. And hands up, I've done that loads of times. Like, I really like marketing, I really like, I have two people with hands up. Hands up if you've done that before, you get like distracted, you try and do the wrong shit. Like, we've all done it, right? There's entrepreneurial ADHD. Like, I love marketing, so I'm like, I'll just try and outmarket my way out of every problem. It's just like pushing a massive rock uphill. Doesn't really help. So, knowing what problem we need to solve, this would be worth taking a photo of. So, I'll move out of the way. So here's some KPIs we would expect generally in a fitness business. As a minimum, you want a call show-up rate roughly 50% plus, call close rate 50% plus. Your churn rate as a minimum should be 10% or less. Your LTV to CAC ratio, which stands for lifetime value, and then cost to acquire a customer, is a 3-to-1. Your cost to acquire a customer, you would basically work out with a formula of how much you spend on marketing, how much your closers cost, how much your setters cost, total of whatever that expense is, divided by how many people sign up that month. So say you spend £10,000 or dollars on Facebook ads, setters, and the closer, and you had 10 clients sign up, your cost to acquire a customer would be $1,000. Profit margins should always be 48% plus upwards. That's really going to depend on the size of your business, because the bigger the business is, the more overheads you're going to have. So that's very case dependent. I would say with that though, that you will go through periods where you have to invest heavily back into the business as you're looking to scale things up. So that will fluctuate. And then a great question I get a lot of the time is the marketing costs. How much should I spend on Facebook ads? How much should I spend on traffic? The way social media works now is very much getting a pay to play. And if you know your numbers, it's actually easier than ever to scale. And I'm going to show you some of the ways how in this talk. But roughly, you want to be looking at 10 to 20% of your revenue you put into front-end marketing. So for example, if you make 10 grand a month, 1,000 to 2,000. If you make 100 grand a month, 10 to 20K a month, within that type of range. Now, if we break these down by one, if these are the issues you have. So I think Shako actually mentioned this, and a few people have mentioned this. And so as we go through these, I'm going to offer you solutions of how to improve these with some of the new things that are working. So increasing call show rates. Sending them a personalized WhatsApp video as soon as the call was booked in. So I took a call yesterday with a guy who signed up, and then I sent him a WhatsApp video when I was walking on the treadmill at the gym. He's like, holy shit, is this AI? I was like, no, dude, it's actually me, which I thought was quite funny. But this is superhuman interaction. It's like scaling by doing the unscalable, and getting your closers to send personalized videos to someone is huge. And I remember I bought some tickets for a Grant Cardone thing last year, and I'm not even joking, within like 30 seconds, I think I had about 3 customized videos from people from his team. I was like, shit, that's impressive. But you also see face-to-face the person you're going to be speaking with. Because people are more inclined to turn up if they know, oh, I've got a call with Nick, I can see Nick, he looks like a nice guy, I'm going to feel bad if I don't show up. Otherwise, there's a name on the calendar, like they don't really care, right? So that would be one thing. Second thing is pushing them into long-form content after the call is confirmed. The best way you can get someone bought into your process and you as a person is to watch longer form or listen to longer form content. Reels and short form content on Instagram is great. Instagram is a conversion platform, but it's not great in terms of warming people up, because if I watch a 30-second reel from Chris, I'm not going to be like, I don't really know a huge amount about him, but if I watch a 10-minute video, I can see the way he communicates, the way he talks, his energy, what he's about. So that has a huge impact. Something else I would also do, if you have, for example, phone closers or someone who's taking calls on your team, you could actually have them in some of the videos with you, so it puts that person on a pedestal and gives them some authority as well. Call close rate. So with this, if you're above 60%, you need to increase your price. Most people bottle it respectfully when it comes to this. The worst thing that can happen, you increase the price, you don't close, you go back to where you were, you increase the price, you close, you make loads more money. Like, you can't really lose. There's an expression in business, you have a one-way door and a two-way door. This is a two-way door. If you increase the price and you can't sell it, you just go back down again. So there is literally nothing to lose other than you just don't make more money if you don't ask the question. Secondly, if you're below 50, 60% in terms of closing right now, booking a one-to-one sales call for training with Jack and actually get your calls recorded and send them to him. The quickest way to improve from a closing perspective is someone from the outside look at your call and be like, do you see your tonality? Do you see how you said this? Do you see how you paused and you seemed uncertain? There's small little things you're probably doing right now that you don't realize. Thirdly, anyone who's got a payment processor in the US, this is even better, but I don't think he's here, Tyler, but actually you should definitely do this. So anyone from the US, client financing is massive. So something called a firm in the US is wild, where someone could pay you $3,000 to $5,000 up front, you get paid straight away, but the client will then pay over 2 to 3 years in installments. In the UK, you have things like Klarna, which is very easy to integrate into Stripe. Fourthly, in terms of call close rates, is doing split pays. And fifthly is reviewing scripts. If you don't have scripts and you don't have a framework in terms of how you're selling people, that's probably the problem. If you also do not know any of these numbers, this is also going to be part of your problem. So what gets tracked and gets managed, you can then actually improve because you can then see what the problem is. Reducing client churn rate. The quickest way to do this is decreasing the time to value. So how quickly does someone get something, like a response, an improvement? And in the fitness niche, majority of people in here will be helping people lose weight, which is why it's essential in the first 5 to 7 days. If you do fat loss, the person loses weight. If you have not done that, you are pretty fucked. Because if you're asking someone to come in and they're going to eat things they don't want to eat and change their entire lifestyle, and nothing changes, how likely is it they're going to want to keep continuing? But if they come in and they start Ollie's program and they drop 4 or 5 kilos in the first 2-3 weeks and they drop maybe 2-3 pounds the first 5 to 7 days, they'd be like, this is awesome. They'd be pumped. They have momentum. They have confidence, which means the likelihood of them then renewing and actually getting a great result and then potentially getting more referrals is going to increase dramatically. Second point is resetting goals constantly. So from a fitness aspect, when do your fitness goals end? When you die. So like, I would make a bit of a joke of that to people, it's like constantly setting new goals to people. Thirdly is a one-to-one relationship with a coach. So coach-client relationships are huge. If you're coaching people, they should like you. If your coaches are coaching people, then being charismatic, personable is huge. And fourthly is community aspects. So things like Facebook groups, events, group calls, doing challenges in groups, even WhatsApp communities. If you have smaller groups, I do a WhatsApp community. I would definitely not have a WhatsApp group if you have over 100 clients. I can give you a very good story why. I remember 2021 maybe, I think we maybe had like 200-300 people in a WhatsApp group with fitness clients, and we were selling people all over the world. We had a lot of people coming in from the US, and someone from the US would come in cold from an ad, they would join, and they put in their email wrong, didn't get the questionnaire, and they would put in the WhatsApp group, like, this whole thing's a fucking scam. Then all of our clients jump in, start defending us. I'd wake up at 7 a.m. and it's like, what the fuck is this? Like World War III's going on with like 500 back and forth and people slagging each other. So from experience of like what not to do, once you get over like 20 people, don't have a WhatsApp group, like have a Facebook group you can moderate. I can see Sasha and people nodding in the background because it's literally, if you want less stress, just trust me, it's a good idea. When we come to reducing cost to acquire a customer, so the cost of Facebook ads and advertising has increased and will continue to do so, which is actually going to come into the pricing aspect later on and some things we're going to go through, which are really easy to implement. One is improve the quality of your ads. So people think, oh, Facebook ads don't work, this is terrible, this is a scam. Facebook is $1 trillion company, like with a T, like massive. Facebook ads work, it's just you don't know how to get them to work, or you're not putting enough effort into the creative to be good enough. So is the hook good enough? Is the way the video is filmed good enough? Is the dynamic good enough? Is it speaking to the actual person who you want to bring through as a client? Like the more specific you are to the type of person, the more specific Facebook is going to be pushing that to someone. Because they use AI to read all the video, read all the copy that you're going through, and they will push that to the right type of person. So this is a huge thing to first look at. Secondly is improving ad targeting. So firstly, if you're ever going to run ads, if you're going to boost something, for example, don't ever put automatic. That's generally a very terrible idea because they will send it to the cheapest costs of audience. And we'll come into targeting actually shortly in a second. 3 is improving organic presence and authority. So we use an ad tracking software called Hyros. And what's interesting, some of this we can talk about long form content as well. The guy who, we had a guy join 7-Figure Scaling Systems yesterday, and I looked on our tracking, I was like, he watched a video in July last year that I talked about Alex Hormozy. And I can see that where he's clicking links. I'm like, that's interesting. And this is going to come into some of the spiderweb marketing that we do, and I would recommend you do if you're looking to grow your business with leverage, because people are researching people online more than ever, and there are going to be multiple touch points to get someone to convert. And then fourthly, we sort of touched upon is being clearer and more specific on your messaging. The more vanilla and generic your content is, the less it's going to speak to anyone, the less of an impact it's going to have. If we're looking to increase LTV, charge more, keep the clients for longer, upsell them into higher ticket programs. So if you've got 50 clients you work with and you know some of these guys crush it, I'd create, like I used to do this, we'd create like client case studies where we have higher level programs we try and push people into. They maybe work more one-to-one with you. And then lastly, trying to collect more cash up front. So that is the easiest way in terms of increasing LTV. Ooh. And then increasing profit margin, again, charging more. Review how your team is paid and have it performance driven. So I feel like gun to the head and pull the trigger a lot of time when I speak to people who we don't work with, and I find out what they're paying people, what they're planning to pay people, because I know what will happen if you go from having 50 clients to 250 and you're massively overpaying your coaches. You basically have a job and not a business, and you basically work for your coaches at that point because they don't understand the cost and the work that goes into everything else. So making sure everything is aligned so it can actually grow and scale is huge. And then thirdly, is tracking your expenses and finances. Like, this is the most basic adult thing I can say to everyone, but it's like, check your bank account every week, what's gone out, what's gone in, and track, like, do your own P&L. I do that every Friday, it takes me 15, 20 minutes. The most useful use of your time you can do, super, super simple. There's a full training on school with the exact spreadsheet I use. You can literally just copy and paste. Very, very simple and straightforward to use. Now, marketing costs being at 10 to 20%. If you have a lead flow issue, it's mostly you have a spending issue, you are not spending enough. So if you have a profitable business, you probably just need to put some money into traffic and also focus on improving your content. That's essentially it. Like, if you do not have enough leads coming through, you either need to get better at content or spend more, or both. And also have the tracking to make sure this is profitable. And if any of these numbers are out and you look and think like I'm well off the close rate or the show rate, this is the priority of the thing you need to fix and not get drawn into the red shiny object. Now, if we implement some of the strategies we're going to talk about, like this, for example, is wildly simple and absolutely crushing. So I'll share this with you. This is all scripted using AI. There's a full training on school in terms of how to use Claude.ai, which is the best language model for writing reels. Essentially, what we do is we take script, we print script off. This is the biggest hack I can give anyone for filming. We literally print the physical script off. I will say the first line, which is the reason your content is fucking dead or whatever it is. I then put the script away, get the script out, so the next line, we film, change angle, make it super dynamic. Now, when we get a video that does really well and gets traffic, we will then take the exact script, the exact words I say, and then put it on the one on the left into like a carousel post. Because I know that copy works and it resonates. Now, why this is more powerful than anything else is because most people go on Instagram with no sound on. So they might read some of the subtitles on the right-hand side, but it's not having full effect. Whereas people will skim through the one on the left and read it. So we will do these types of posts with a call to action to get whatever the free thing is. And then we do this. We automate the responses to it. So this is using Go High Level. Now, what's really important on this and super sneaky, and some people might have actually been through this, is when someone comments on a reel, it will only let you send one message. And it won't let you send a second follow-up one. So the first message we send is, just saw your comment, here's the link to the doc below. Can you reply to let me know it's okay, as I've had a few issues with it? Genuine question. 95% of people respond being like, yeah, I got it, thank you so much. Wonderful. We then go to the second step of our flow, which then pulls them into long-form content. So the second message we then send is, we have these basically built out as frameworks for each angle we'd use from a marketing aspect. So you could have one for like fat loss, one for supplements, one for training, whatever it might be. What you're struggling with on the content side, blah, 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 some questions. And also, this video has a ton of gold for you on X, Y, Z. We then send them a long form video. So we're trying to take them from the short form to the long form. From there, we then follow up again 7 days later with another very generic question. So this is automatically following up whilst we have the setter doing the same thing manually. So this is where nothing's getting missed through the cracks. And also on the first step, actually, if I go back, We have them tagged with ad tag as like autoresponder opt-in, so the setters can just go through and follow up through everything through there as well. So what we're doing here is we're creating viral content on Instagram, which gives huge amounts of value, giving things away. We're pulling conversations in automatically on autopilot. We're taking them from a short form platform and then we're pushing into a long form platform, which is going to make them super warm leads. Even like I mentioned, a guy who joined us yesterday came from YouTube, and this is the easiest way you're ever going to get anyone to convert. Now, essentially what we do is we put this whole system on steroids by then running through paid traffic. Very, very simple. We find proof of concept that works. We then ram it out as much as we can to the specific audience of what we want. And when it comes to ad targeting, there's a couple of different things you can do. So you either want to go open targeting, super broad. So like UK, US, whatever, nothing. Like age and then gender. So if you work with men, women, whatever it is. The most important thing, actually, just go back, is on Advantage Creative Plus. This has to be turned off. So like people have had issues in here. Put your hand up if you've had issues and you run ads to like men or women and they're getting sent to the wrong person. Yeah, so like, the reason they're getting sent to random people is if you have Advantage Creative Plus, Facebook will take the liberty to send basically to anyone who will engage with it who's not the type of person you want. So if you're talking about how to build a bikini body, and I said it to James, who's a black belt in fucking jiu-jitsu, it's probably not going to convert, right? So I would make sure that's turned off. So if you start with open targeting, the second thing you have is interest targeting. So if you run open targeting first, and like, cool, we're getting followers, people commenting, people are coming through, but the lead quality is crap, then we would make a change, and then you would go to interest targeting, you start adding in specific things that your audience would like. So for example, good ones would be Lululemon, Whole Foods, Rolex, Wall Street Journal, luxury vacations, those sort of things. If you think essentially whatever your avatar of audience want, that's what you want to be utilizing, and that's what's going to basically be pulling people through. And this is essentially what we call spiderweb marketing, because essentially we're pulling people from 4 different Instagram accounts, we're then retargeting with Facebook ads, we're also using LinkedIn, and then we've got 3 different YouTube channels and podcasts. All of this is funneling people into the same ecosystem, and everyone's getting pixeled and targeted into emails. People can't escape. To the point where I was in Vegas for 6 weeks, and like people in the gym would be like, I can't stop seeing your ads, like you're everywhere. And I make a joke of like, once you like see any of our stuff, you will never escape. We'll just keep following you around the internet until you become a client. But that's essentially what you want, right? And it's like one of the most powerful things I remember listening to Grant Cardone say, and it's like omnipresence. You want to be everywhere at all times, and that's where like you can create this type of ecosystem that works, because short form's pretty quick and easy to make. Ads will just retarget people. The long form stuff is super high leverage, because there's video, I'm standing here right now, and we're getting hundreds and like thousands of views at the same time. So people watching the videos getting pulled to the whole ecosystem, the whole thing just works. Now, in terms of what you want to try and do to get all this marketing to work together, this is essentially how our funnel works. I showed you in terms of how we create a reel, we then create a carousel as well maybe, we will boost those out, so we're picking up new followers, we can then message. So that's strategy 1. Number 2, also creating conversations on autopilot using Go High Level and also tagging them. Number 3 is we're pushing those people also into long form content. That's also going to warm them up to become a client. Number 4 is also building our email list. So we can email them, and then we also get their phone number so we can call them. 5, we're creating an audience of people we can retarget with more ads, pull them into different things. And essentially this way, we're coming to prospects in 5 different ways. And this is where you have to look at marketing from multi-dimensional touch points, and this is how you can really get your business to scale and to crush. Because in my opinion, the days of just putting up one post and like hoping people message me, like hope isn't a great business strategy to scale. You need to create a system like this. What this has also done by implementing this, it's actually way more than this now. Our YouTube channel has grown 20% in 4 weeks. I think our podcast channel has grown 50% in a week, which is insane. And here's a bonus you can keep in the room. This is sick. And this is something weekly I came up with the other day. So essentially, what we also do is we take everyone's phone numbers, we've got like 40,000 people's phone numbers, we create a broadcast list on Go High Level, and we will WhatsApp 40,000 people in one go. We send them in like 30-minute blocks so we don't get banned, but we'll push people into long-form content, give them value, and just touch points. And this is what you talk about in terms of high leverage, because I can press one button and 40,000 people are going to get a message, given value, and sent to something. Now, I added this in last minute because I thought it was sick and I thought I might fly it way back. Who wants to increase their profit 17% in 10 minutes? Who likes money, right? Like, This is like the easiest things you can do. And we call this the instant profit pricing playbook. So how would it feel to get an extra month's profit every year? So if you make 10 grand a month, you make 120 grand a year, who wants an extra 10 grand a month? This is essentially how you do it. You switch from doing monthly billing to 28-day billing. So most people will bill monthly, monthly, monthly. If you bill every 4 weeks, you get this. So with monthly billing cycles, you get 12 cycles per year. If you do 28, it gives you 13. You get an entire extra month's revenue into your business for free, for nothing. So this is not 10x your value view coming today, like 100x is wild. And that's pure profit. There's no cost to it, super, super simple. So that's number one. This gives you an extra 8.3% revenue over the year. And then secondly, and I realized loads of people have done this to me, and I was like, shit, this doesn't make sense, is taking processing fees and a second form of payment when you buy something and when you sell your program. So essentially, after a customer agrees to buy, you say, how do you want to pay for that? They're just going to say credit card, but okay, awesome. So it's just a 3.99% card processing fee. 99% of people aren't going to bat an eyelid at that. If you put that 4% through and you make $1 million a year, that's an extra 40 grand for doing nothing. Like literally in your pocket, pure profit. If they say no and they have an issue with it, this is also what you do. And this is really smart. Is essentially, if they say no, you do this. No problem, you can save 3.9% by providing a second form of payment. We only have the fee because if a card declines, we use resources to get a new one, and about 70% of cards do every month. This would be worth taking a photo of. If you save us time and effort, we'll pass those savings on to you. Now, we've got a photo of that. Now, you might be thinking, didn't that just raise all the pricing gains and all the extra money you made? Technically, but no. Because you've got something a lot more valuable. Now, recurring payments get a 1.2% to 1.7% involuntary churn every month, where people's cards expire, decline, whatever. Now, if you have 5% monthly churn, this could be 24 to 34% of your churn, which is massive, like huge. And that's one of the quickest ways you can bring your churn rate down, and also, I'll bring it back more. It's one of the quickest ways, I'll share the slides afterwards. This is one of the quickest ways you can bring your churn rate down, make more money from doing nothing. So that's two. Third thing, will make a lot of sense to anyone who likes basic economics and inflation, is annual price increases. So you have customers sign contracts that have fixed prices increases annually. So if you charged $100 per month and raise prices 5% per year, then this would be what your rates would look like over the next 5 years. So if we start year zero today, you've got $100, 5%. Year one is going to be $105. By the time we get to year 4 or year 5, it's $122. So it's slowly, incrementally increasing up. That's at 5%. If we did it at 12%, the second chart to show you, it goes from $100 to in 5 years, essentially $157, which is a 57% increase. That shows the power of compounding and slowly nudging your prices up. Now, why this is incredibly important is if anyone understands how inflation works, which I will show you now, here is an example of what happens over 5 years, because your cost of doing business will increase as inflation goes up, paying people goes up, cost of living goes up, Facebook ads go up, whatever it might be. Now, on the left-hand side, we have a business, say, for example, in 2017, they charged $100, they had 20% net profit, which is terrible, but is what it is, easy math. Expenses 80%. In 2025, if they change nothing, they make no money. So the actual thing you have to do to make sure you maintain your profit margins is actually slowly keep increasing your prices. Otherwise, you're going to get paid less and less every single year because your costs will continue to increase. And that is how simple it is to then increase the revenue of business with just doing 3 very simple things with nothing overly sexy. And what that breaks down to is an increase of 17% minimum. If you just do the 28-day cycle, so instead of doing monthly, you do every 4 weeks, you use multi-form of payment or a credit card processing fee, and then thirdly, you have in a contract, you have an annual price increase of, I would suggest, between 3 to 10%. So roughly, profit increase of 17% from doing absolutely nothing. Very simple to implement. And this is one of my favorite sayings, if you don't implement this, you literally hate money. It's really, really simple. I couldn't have broken this down to be any more obvious in terms from a numbers perspective. And what I would say to you, a lot of people struggle from a business aspect because it's going to fluctuate, right? And I've done this a long period of time. I actually think about this. I think the first coaching program I probably wrote for someone was maybe in 2015. So it's 10 years, which is insane. But what you'll find is that you're always going to have peaks and troughs. The most important thing is Resilience is how quickly you can return back to baseline. So when you're shitting it pissed off, how you can reframe that and get back to where you want to be. Because a negative mindset and a downward spiral will just continue, will never perform well, improve your business out of that. And you have one or two options. Either you die or you don't worry about it, or you suffer and you don't die. So if you think about whatever problems you have right now, it's probably not that big an issue. Like, other than death, everything else is fixable, so you can solve the problems. And the biggest thing that solves problems is people. If you know the right people, you can then solve the problem, which is why we live in an information society and you're in the right room. And you have to play to win. Like, you can't run your business from a place of fear, and you have to play for the love of doing it. Like, if you wake up and you're excited and you like fitness and you like business and you like helping people and you're incredibly passionate about that, and I spoke to you, Mark, about this earlier on, like, this is the thing that will keep driving you to be successful because you just enjoy doing the thing. And for me, like, business is like a big red shiny toy I get to play with every day. It's like a video game, but in real life. And you get to have monumental impact on people's lives. And that's how you create impact and income, but then can also scale your business and have a knock-on consequence on thousands and millions of other people. And on that, do you have any questions? I'll leave it for you. Oh, Alex. Oh, sure.
Quick question regarding the 28-day cycle.
Yeah.
I can just see from the people that we help straight away saying, I have to get paid a certain day to be able to pay you. And they do that because they don't manage money well, or they want to be able to
Finance.
have a repeatable cycle and not have to work it out when the next 28 days is. So the amount they're investing doesn't change, but their monthly repayment date will be.
Yeah.
Have you come across that hurdle? If so, how do you do it?
Sometimes, but we just deal with it on a case-by-case basis. It's that thing that, like, our mind naturally gets drawn to, like, oh, I've got 1,000 clients, 3 people don't like this is a terrible idea. But then I'd rather have an extra month profit and then have 3 people who are a bit annoyed and then have to manage that. Yeah, because, like, and also, respectfully, those people are probably the negative Nancy, difficult clients anyway, just by, like, the nature of the people they probably are. Yeah. Like, that's from my own experience. So I would do it and then just deal with people one-to-one if they have an issue with it. And just, but make it clear in your paperwork, like, when I'm being sent over. I think Adrian.
Is it possible to automate that and try 28 days?
Yeah, it's the same. You can just set up a billing cycle, whatever you want. Okay. Emily?
So just so that I've heard you correctly, when it comes to that payment processing fee, the Stripe fee, let's say if it was monthly recurring, it's £300 a month, but you charge $312 every month, so that way it covers your expenses. Or it's the upfront, you charge 4%?
I would do it on both.
Okay.
So I'd be like, it's an extra 4% process. Or like, if they want it, if it's someone really had an issue, be like, you can bank transfer it if you want, if they were going to pay up front. Because that actually saves you loads of money as well.
Yeah, so
Like,
much. I calculated that last month.
Well, if you, maybe I shouldn't say this on camera, but another hack is, maybe edit this around for the video. Another thing, just move this when we put this anyway. Another thing you can do is the Stripe, the payment processes in the UK or the US are way less. So what actually we do now is we'll put a lot of payments through UK payment processors, pay 3% probably less in fees, and then it's cheaper to transfer Wise money out here if you wanted to, or keep it money somewhere else. So like, that's an option.
How can you transfer money out here? I don't think Wise works.
Yeah, you literally to a TransferWise account in the UK. So TransferWise isn't a bank; it's like a floating account almost. Yeah, or Revolut. Like, JJ knows the game.
You guys are legends. Thank you.
Yeah. But
one more question, just about Go High Level. Who do I need to speak to understand and get that set up?
If you message Joe on Slack, he'll be able to help with that. He'd set up all the WhatsApp nerdy stuff as well. Yeah. James.
Is that working? Yeah. With the content you're creating on Instagram, the boosted post, first of all, that's a boosted post, not an ad, right?
That we've obviously run ads as well, but that's literally just boosted.
Okay. And then basically, would you do it organic, then boost it if it's working well, or do it boost it from the start?
I would boost the ones that are winners and things that have a lot of engagement on. So if you've got something that like has like a strong, like the way back it is, wherever the ones are that have the carousel posts, if they have a lead magnet on it, I would just keep them running as boosts because that's just going to funnel people into our world. So we would just keep these things running. And I think even like the first time we posted that organically, got like 400 or 500 comments on it, something stupid. And actually, I forgot to mention this earlier, so it's good to bring up. from a copy style that we find personally works, is you want to psychologically trigger people. So we will be you want to use a negative hook, we'll be slightly direct and controversial, but then try and be slightly humorous on like the second line of it. So it's a bit like, fuck you, but like ha ha ha, and they laugh and it's like quite funny. And you're taking the edge off of it. So like that negative connotation will pull someone in, and if you can try and make it humorous with it at the same time, it crushes.
Yeah, so it'll be something like, you're not fat because of you're not fat because of your metabolism, basically, that kind of stuff. It'll be some sort of...
Yeah, but I would be more aggressive with it. Like,
yeah, I know what I'm like. I'm
I do. Like, you have no issue with that. But like, I actually think for your brand, I would like nail down that like a trooper, because you do it in your stories anyway. So I was like, I would just gun it for that.
The question was, so the funnel for this. So this is a still, right? This is not a video.
So that's a carousel. So it's like 5-6 images maybe.
Okay, and then so what you're saying with the copy there, on the right. So what can you say again? Explain and how they get funneled.
That copy on this reel, like the words I'm saying.
Got it.
We take the exact script, like the written script, and we just put it here.
Oh, okay.
So it's the exact words I'm saying is just put into another format.
Got it.
And that's why it works, because we know this worked first time, so it's like testing. So, okay, cool. We'll then do it here.
And what would be the sort of call to action, or what you give them?
It depends what the reel is. So if you're dealing with like fat dads, it could be how to be a dad in shape by the pool this summer. Here's a 2,000 calorie guide to help you lose weight, or whatever it might be. Or like fat loss supplement list or something.
And then you'll basically DM them, have you got that content? Have you got
whatever?
And then
did that come through? Did you manage to open the link okay? They'll reply yes, and then you've got them into the flow.
Got it, perfect. Thank you. Cheers.
Yeah, and on that, depending on the actual like content, if you're running it for followers, one of the sort of rabbit holes a lot of people go down is trying to pick like 5 or 6 different pieces of content and all boosted at a low price daily. So lots of people run like $5, $10, $15 a day, let's say, behind multiple pieces of content. One of the easiest things you can do when getting started is take what your daily budget is, put it behind one reel, see if it's working. If it is, great. If it's not, you know you need to move on to the next one. But a lot of the time, you launch like 3, 1 is working, 2 are not, and you've got average results. So keep it simple. I remember we launched like 60 ads in one day, and the tracking on the back end became an absolute headache. So less is more, essentially.
Charlie? Yeah.
Yep.
So you said increasing the price annually, right? Can you automatically do that for Stripe, or you have?
You could set up a subscription in 12 months to change. So if you've got someone who's paying, I don't know what date it is, say 14th of March. So if you've got someone signed up today, you could put in 14th of March, so automatically you could set up a new price to start. For ease of math, say they're paying $100 a month. Now, in 14th of March 2026, they increases to $108 as a new subscription, and you cancel the old one.
Okay, and you would explain that in the call or just in the contract?
I would probably just put that in the contract, in like terms.
Right. Okay, and also for the, because you said like, you can make Stripe payment to I figured like in Spain and UK would be...
Yeah, so in Europe you could put to something called TransferWise. So it's like a currency exchange, almost like platform.
Yeah, but if you charge the money in Euro bank accounts,
yep.
Wouldn't that be tax issues? Like
if you're not a resident in those countries, you have no tax obligation.
Yeah, so you can charge by let's say a Spanish bank and then transfer here without...
I wouldn't do it into a mainstream bank, particularly the Spanish system of what I'm aware of, but if you had I don't know where like Revolut, I think is technically...
I use Revolut.
Yeah, Revolut is technically a Lithuanian bank from memory, so it's like...
The problem, I use Revolut, but it's like
a Spanish
branches in Spain.
Yeah, but the company of Revolut is registered in Lithuania, so... Okay. I wouldn't be too worried about it. As long as you're not putting like £1 million a year through it. If you're going to put some through it, like that'll be a good problem, but like it would then become a problem. So I would say even with things like that, I had 150 grand locked in Revolut for like 6-7 months, and it's an online bank, and they wouldn't talk to me. So like, this is not helpful. Like problems of like you have. So when you are doing those types of things, I wouldn't don't hammer loads of money in really quick, because even with like new payment processors, if you suddenly just gun it and start throwing money into it, they flag straight away. So like you'll find a lot of time, people have really high sales months on Black Friday and they get flagged as high risk, and Stripe will put a reserve. It happens every year to us, because they're worried that all the extra sales are going to get disputed or whatever.
Okay. So just you can charge through Revolut Bank in Europe, and then transfer here.
Yeah, I wouldn't do all of your revenue through it, but like if you want to split some of it out, it would save you a lot of money.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
What I would do is, if your business is registered in the UAE, I'd put the UAE transactions through there because you don't pay for that. So if you're going to sell a product in the UAE, I wouldn't sell. I would do that through a different payment processor than the UAE one, because otherwise you have to pay VAT on it.
Yo, Charlie, it was just with obviously the Reels to Carousel,
Yeah.
is it you always holding a picture or a board or something like that?
Generally, we'll have something so we can have some text on it. I think pretty much all of them are something like that. Just so you've got like a solid background to write on.
You mentioned 50 to 60% close rate expectation.
Yeah.
Is that the same for cold traffic?
It depends on the offer. So like, I know we spoke about this yesterday at length, but I think for you, if you we spoke about doing a slightly lower upfront price into monthly. If you were to do something like that, I'd expect you to probably get like 40 to 50%. It depends on the offer, right? So if you're running very cold direct to a VSL, I probably wouldn't be expecting 50%. But for the majority of people, if they're doing like DM to cold, yeah.
What would you expect?
35, 40%.
Okay.
I would say, I think yours is a lot lower than that at the moment, though, right?
Top closers was about 40.
Yes, so like so he would be in range, but we've spoken about that he performs, the other two don't. So that's that makes sense.
Okay.
Hey, Charlie, what was that AI software that you use for scripting that says most viral?
So it's called Claude.ai. It's by far better than ChatGPT. It's sick. Really, really good.
Claude?
Yeah, CLAUDE.ai. I was going to do a presentation on that, maybe not another hour. It's really good. For anyone in the mastermind, there's a whole training on how to use that in scripts and prompts on there, and also how to write ads using it.
And what was the automation?
The automation software we use is Go High Level. For messaging. Go High Level, yeah. But you can do the same thing with ManyChat. Shoot.
That was my next question. Explain the differences, like why is Go High Level better than ManyChat or vice versa?
Basically the same thing, but you're having to pay twice. So for example, Go High Level is a CRM system that does like, it's like a Swiss Army knife. You can do like 50 different things. ManyChat can just message people. So it's like, you probably need to have Go High Level or that type of platform anyway, so you might as well have that does everything. And it's more simple than having multiple different softwares.
Yeah, I use Kajabi. I've used that for a while. Probably not the most, I don't get the most utility out of it. You recommend Go High Level?
Yeah, Kajabi is a video hosting platform. So like, Go High Level's great for a lot of things. The only thing we don't use it for transparently is like we do outbound phone dialing, because we do a lot of that and it doesn't work great for volume. And secondly is mass email marketing. We use ActiveCampaign just because I've had that set up for years and all the automations. Like we have 200,000 contacts to move out. It's not worth opening Pandora's box. Sorry.
How do you do the outbound call? What do you do?
We use close.io, so we will pull people into any of these things. If we don't put a Google document and we put an opt-in funnel, then someone will call the person as the lead comes in to be like, hey Shaka, saw you opted in for the how to make sick hooks, whatever thing is, and then we'll try and talk them into.
Do you ever use that to increase your follow-up rate? Sorry, your show-up rate?
Yes, we can call and confirm people on it.
You call and confirm?
Yeah, it's an outbound, it's an outbound dialing platform. It's a CRM system, but it's very good for calling.
Yeah, right.
It's better than Go High Level for that. Asher?
Just supposed to ask, why is it better than Go High Level?
The dialing platform on it is better on close. So Go High Level is like a Swiss Army knife, could do loads of different stuff. Close is more of like a specialist for like a sales platform. So on Go High Level, you can't do as many dials as quickly and use things like power dialers. So we could put like 1,000 people into a list and call like 5, 6 people at a time and just work our way through it. So it's much more effective if you do a lot of volume.
On that note, can you talk a little bit about your system for calling people to increase that show-up rate? Do you call them as soon as they book a call, or?
So what we would do is, if I have my laptop, I can just bring it up. So what we would do when someone comes in, the closer will send them a video to confirm the call of like, hey Shaka, we've got a call on Monday at what time? Excited to speak to you about X, Y, Z. So it's personal. We will also send them some type of long form video with some value because we want to try and get into them some long form stuff to warm them up. maybe even a podcast. If they don't reply or don't confirm to that, then we will call them up. So like if you message back, like, yeah, awesome, I look forward to seeing you on Monday, Charlie. Like, there's no point in us calling you at that point because you confirmed. And then we would just mark in the calendar the call as green. Do you have more than one closer?
We just hired our first closer.
Okay. When you have more than one, you just need to make sure you use Google Calendar and you can see everyone's calls at the same time. It's like an overlay.
You mentioned Claude. What do you ask Claude in order to get that back?
Depends what we want from it. So I'd say for anything you're using for copy, one of the best prompts would be, what's your niece again, Alex? Like females over
50.
And what's their want to lose weight? Menopausal?
Past that, independence, mobility,
Okay.
joint pain.
Okay, so this is the exact framework I use, and this is sick. So I would do, write me 20 viral hooks for an Instagram reel for women who are over 50. Pretend you're a combination of Dan Kennedy, the copywriter, and Alex Hormozi. It will then give you 20 different hooks. I will read through them until I find one that like stops me. I'm like, that's sick. And then I will then basically, say I've got 3 hooks I like from that. I'm like, okay, cool. Write me a full written video script to speak on camera for Instagram for the hooks 3, 5, and 7. Press enter, it will then write them out. And then depending on what you want the script to do, I would ask like, get it to comment to give away a women's fat loss guide for over 50 or whatever the thing is, or get it to follow for more or whatever you want the call to action to be.
And you say, have it be influenced by Dan Kennedy.
So like talk like Dan Kennedy and Alex Hormozi, because it will use certain connotations of Alex from a fitness perspective and also Dan Kennedy from his like problem solving and the way he identifies pain points. I would ask it to make them negative hooks because I generally find they're way better and psychologically trigger people. When you put in that prompt, I would also put in some information about your business. So like, I'm Alex Nealon, we do X, Y, Z. I've helped this many clients achieve Y. On average, our clients drop 20 pounds in 8 weeks. We use this method. You can put in like some examples of client case studies and it will start to write that into the scripts for you. So the more information you put into it, the better the reel it will give you, or the more specific to your business it will give you.
2 more. Don't mind
Yeah, shoot.
LinkedIn, what are you doing right now that's working?
Let Chris Ashford talk on that later on. He's going to talk on that.
Perfect. And last one, are you still qualifying for finances before?
Yes, I would say more than ever because the more you run, this is like, I can't remember where I got this from. When you run paid ads, and I say this to people a lot, if you think of like the population of planet Earth, like 98% of people will be a terrible lead. So when you start running cold ads to people everywhere, you're going to get a lot of people come through who aren't very good. So your job is to actually protect your time and make sure your team's time is protected. So I would qualify pretty hard, but it depends on the problem you're trying to solve. So if you don't have enough calls, then I would reduce the friction and maybe qualify less. If you have too many and the lead quality is poor, I would add more friction into the questions in terms of how you qualify them, if that makes sense. But I would, generally the most important things are age and occupation, like where they live. So for example, if you had someone who's a woman and she's 55 and she's retired and she lives in Knightsbridge, guess she probably has some money. But if she lives in Great Yarmouth and Norfolk, maybe not. And you could like read between the lines a little bit like that. But that would be then where we actually leave it at the closer's discretion and be like, Alex, call the lead and see if you want to take it. Just call them for 5 minutes and just have a chat with them, because they'll be able to tell a lot from that. And then if it's not a great prospect, just give them something of some value, like a video or whatever, or a free lead magnet that they can go and do.
Did you ask the address then?
We ask where they live.
In the spin, I'm assuming.
Yeah, like in actual call booking and in conversations sometimes. Because you can tell a lot about that from someone. Like that's one of the most influential things. If someone lives in the Palm in Dubai, they're probably not going to have a financial issue, right? Whereas if someone lives in, I don't know, like somewhere in Timbuktu, like it's going to be a different issue, right?
Thank you.
Or Karachi in Pakistan or something.
One thing on this as well with like lead flow, and I see this a lot when we're doing things with coaches, but one of the mistakes that a lot of coaches make is essentially booking a call and then jumping into the next communication only happening from a closer, who basically will tell them, hey, make sure you show up in a room with your credit card ready to buy, essentially.
So one of the best ways to help your show-up rate and your sales rate is to actually continue with the process of what we've been doing, right? Lead generation, conversations, we're doing pain points, struggles, desired outcomes. Once we then book a call, most people leave the inbox silent and wait until the reminders start going out for their call. Continue the conversation, even if you ask something small. So for example, if you book the call and you don't have that info of like where they're based, after it's been booked, have the setter jump back in and say, by the way, completely forgot to ask, whereabouts are you based? We can continue the conversation right the way up to the point where we're supposed to jump on the call. It's a lot less transactional between like getting them to open up and share their goals and struggles and then just leaving it until the closer jumps in. So that helps massively, not just your show rate, but also your close rate, because it comes from a point of genuinely trying to help someone, not trying to just sell them.
Any questions? Sasha.
So in 3 weeks, I have a very big event where probably 3,000 people will attend, 1,000 live, 2,000 the stream. What would be your strategy to make the most customers out of it?
What are you trying to sell at the event?
So I have two main things. If I do one-on-one closing calls, I add value, show them that actually they're shit at boxing, and then I can sell very high level or high ticket stuff, almost 5 figures. What I did right now, I had an event like this, 50 people, and then I said, hey, if you join in the next 24 hours, you don't have upfront costs. So I just took 500 euros per client, but on retainer base, and they saved 3K upfront, and that worked very well because I have 30 people from one event to pay $500 monthly.
Is it in person or virtual?
It's 2,000 people on the stream, 1,000 in the arena. It's a mix.
What's the demographic of like what you're selling?
Entrepreneurs, boxing coaching, on the coach.
What's the problem you solve for them? Like getting in shape or defending themselves?
Defending themselves and being more confident.
I would try and use statistics of like, I don't know, if they live in the UK, like crime rates, like it's a bit like I would try and use fear as a bit of a tool to put it into them, and also probably even in their ego of like, you could be a really successful man, but if you're not in physical shape and you can't defend yourself, like that's a fundamental flaw.
My question was more from the funnel perspective.
How to convert them into calls?
Should I do calls or should I?
What's the price point?
I mean, it depends. We have different ones. That's the question.
I'll speak to you afterwards and get some more detail. Yeah, it's probably quite specific.
Yeah, so Johnny, I know you wake up quite early. What does the most optimal day look like for you as an online coach looking to provide as much?
Where do you live?
I live in London.
Okay, so I would say wake up. You can wake up whenever you want, doesn't really make any difference. But the way I would structure your day is I would get up and I would focus on the most important things you have to do, is like building assets in the business. So like a phrase of like working on the business, not working the business. So the worst thing most people do is they wake up and they get like fucking the phone and they're on WhatsApp, on their Instagram, and they're like incredibly distracted. So before the success happens the day before, so you need to plan, okay, what are the 2 to 3 things I need to do tomorrow morning when I get up, that assets that I'm gonna build in my business. So for example, the other day I built a WhatsApp automation that's massive. So I was like, okay, cool, tomorrow I'm gonna go and build this thing. That's gonna run forever, and there's a huge amount of leverage that's gonna keep working for me. So in particular, when I was first scaling my fitness business, I was doing everything. So I was building all the websites, doing all the, like everything, like Zapier integrations, all the complicated shit. So I would literally just map out like, what's the 2 to 3 things I have to do tomorrow morning, do all those things in 2 to 3 hours. I would personally then go and work out, because then it gives me a bit of a break, re-energizes myself, and then I would come back, either do more like working on the business, like creative stuff, or then start taking sales calls or coaching clients. So generally, first block in the morning would be like building actual assets that move things forward. So I spoke earlier about, you have the business like today, the business tomorrow. In the morning, you're building the business for tomorrow. And then like during the day, you're running the business you have right now almost. The last thing I'll say, the most important thing is at the end of the day, you literally sit down and review, what have I done today? And like, what do I need to do tomorrow? So like that review process is so important, because it stops you realizing like, I've actually done nothing that's really important today. I've just like posted my stories and replied to a few people.
And when you're leading your team, what's the most needle-moving things you do to make them perform the best?
Stopping them getting distracted, I would probably say, and trying to keep people on focus, because I think as much as people who run their business have entrepreneurial ADHD, we live in a very distracted society, so it's trying to, one of my favorite questions, and I always say this, is like, what problem does this solve? Because sometimes people want to go do something, but like, doesn't actually solve any problem we have right now. Is it a good idea? Yes, but it doesn't really help. So like, this is our problem, this thing has nothing to do with it, so then let's leave that for now. And I think that's where you can get your business to grow quickly, because you're focusing on the actual thing that's holding you back, not just like hypothetically this is a good idea, because hypothetically it's a good idea to create a blog, to have a really nice website, to like do all this shit, but it's not the most effective use of your time.
And what's your personal vision for the next 2 to 3 years? Is it like all online coaches rather than just fitness? Or?
That's change. I don't want to share this. So this is funny. I actually asked Alex Ramosi this, and I was like, should we go broader? And we've worked with some other people who crushed in other industries, or should we just stay in fitness? And he's like, you're a fucking idiot. He's like, we were making 3 to 4 million a month selling to like micro gyms in the US, and there's like 3,000 to 4,000 of them. He's like, there's 17 million personal trainers in the United States alone. He's like, you are fucking retarded. Just like keep doing this. So for me, I really have a revelation that I love business and I love fitness. So I will be doing this for the next 10 years. My goal is to build like the gym launch for like online coaching, and basically the one-stop shop where you can go build your business from zero to fucking wherever you want to go with it.
Sorry, thank you.
Cool.
So we've been noticing a fluctuation in the quality of calls that we're having on. Like 1 week, the quality of person will be like really good, and then the next week it'll just be shit. But then when assessing like some of the inputs, for example, either the ads or the content or something like that, some of the variables that could have changed, I can't see any difference in what we've done. A, have you obviously seen that and had that, and B, what have you done to try and improve that?
The answer is yes all the time, and it's frustrating because I think it sometimes feels like an on-off button. And I would say transparent is worse when you run a sales team, because they're like, this is fucking amazing, this is fucking terrible. And like from 1 week, they're like happy as hell, and the other, they're trying to throw themselves off the bridge. So it's like trying to find that balance in the middle. But I think that comes down to managing people's expectations. A lot of stability will actually come as you scale the business, because your numbers tend to be higher. So like I was mentioning to Alex, you can, like I can adjust like the call volume and our lead flow as much as we want. So for example, I know right now we don't have that much space for calls, so I've had to pull back like our spend 40 to 50%. So I can turn up the dial and turn down the dial depending on what we want to do, because we need to bring in more people to take calls, but I don't want to bring in people who aren't good, because then they will do a shit job and cause problems and it won't be as efficient as it should be. So I'd rather go slow and then scale it up. So I'd say as your business scales up, you tend to get more stability, because it's less like you get lucky with one thing hit there and there. And something I think about is the law of large numbers. Like if you get 1,000 leads or 100 leads, your likelihood to have more better leads just increases of getting lucky. But you're doing the right thing in terms of just trying to analyze, okay, what changed in this week, what changed in this week. But one thing I'd actually even say is that there's a lot of external factors that sometimes affect things we don't look at. So calendar time of year, elections, stock market, crypto prices fluctuating has an effect. I notice a difference when the crypto market goes up aggressively. People are much more aggressive to spend. Like I feel like that personally. Like the market goes up, I'm like, yeah, just fucking buy whatever. When you're down, shit like it's dropped a lot, you're like, ooh, like maybe not so much. If that makes sense. I would just try and, when anyone has that, I would just try and look if you can see a reason why, but sometimes there isn't a reason. I know it doesn't really answer the question, but things will naturally fluctuate a little bit.
So I'm all right in looking, in terms of looking in the right places, it's like assessing the messaging and the content, I was speaking to the right people, and obviously who we're targeting in the ads, and then outside of that, it's all looking good, just keep at it.
Consistency. I would say, look at the content you're posting, has the ad spend increase, decrease? And actually when you mention ads, I would look at what's called your CPM, so it's cost per 1,000 views. So we track that every day on a spreadsheet. I can send it to you. And essentially what that allows, you can do it on the Facebook Ads Manager as well, but basically what that allows us to do is say, okay, in January we were spending £1,000 a day and we were getting this many leads. In February we're getting £1,000 a day and our business has like slowed down. What's happened? I can look, okay, maybe the CPM cost per 1,000 views was a lot less in January, so we were getting a lot more traffic for what we were spending. So there's normally some type of answer there if you're doing a lot of paid stuff, but it could just be sometimes a bit of seasonality. So January, February, maybe more people are buying at start of Jan because they want to get in shape for summer. So you're going to see little bits of fluctuations of that throughout the year, because fitness does have some seasonality.
Cool. All right, thanks.
Hubstaff is also a great tool to keep this consistent. A lot of the times when you've got like setters and teams like that, you'll see that when they're being consistent, you'll see good call flows, then they travel or they do something or they're less active, and a lot of the times it can fluctuate. So one of the first places is going to be the conversations. Are they tagging and doing follow-ups? If they're not, you'll often see a wave of high volume calls followed by low volume calls, because they're dealing more reactively to what's in the inbox instead of structured with a actual follow-up solution. Like a lot of leads get buried in an inbox. One of the big benefits of things like Go High Level will show you how many unanswered messages you actually have that do get buried. And I've seen these numbers be as high as 2, 3, 4, 5,000 messages in people's inboxes. So that's one of the first places to look.
I would say if ever anything's not working, particularly you have a team, it's like the analogy I'd say is like you go digging for the dead bodies, like you go and find the stuff you don't want to find, because normally there's always something there like, fuck, why has this not been done, or why is this not done, or why is this not done? There's normally something like that, in particular if you have a team of people, it's normally someone dropping the ball somewhere.
Charlie, where do you see the future of coaching with AI?
I think it's going to become easier to coach people and faster, but I do not see it replacing coaching at all. What's going to happen, and it's already happening, is, I'll choose my words delicately, people who are like the fitness influencers who sell cheap, like shitty $7 a week apps are done. But what people want to pay for is accountability, someone to hold, like actually have a relationship with them and actually look at them from a personal situation of like, this is what's going on, how, like actually have a rapport with you, which is why it's more important than ever, in my opinion, to start doing things like longer form content, not as a red shiny object, but as like a longer term vision, because people will buy from people. So the more you can get people to buy into you and reduce the skepticism, the more they're going to want to be involved in your world. Like the problem, having spent a lot of time in America recently, the problem of obesity is definitely not going away with Ozempic and AI. So the problem is there, and people are going to need the solution, and the people who want to pay for the solution will still want to pay.
Okay, speaking of which, so you said that most of your revenue is coming from Instagram as opposed to long form. What percentage of your time spent recording content is short form versus long form?
That's a great question. So I would say, in actual, like in front of the camera recording,
Just like planning prep as well.
probably long form's longer. That's what I said. Ironically, the video's longer. So we spend a lot more time on long form. I'd probably say 70-30. But the reality is that the long form content has more of a higher leverage thing. Like who here's watched some of our YouTube stuff, right? Like freaking everyone. So like, it might not be the thing that converts someone, but it has a big role in the process. So that's why I said earlier, Instagram is a conversion tool, but we can see from a lot of our tracking stuff now, if anyone clicks a link on any of the videos in the summaries, I can see if they've clicked that, and we see that a lot now. So you'll also get that. I would really try and use YouTube as a tool to warm people up, and then if you can get like videos to pop off, which for fitness is much easier than what we're doing, like you crush. I think Millie, you had one recently, and like you could probably testify that. I think I said some things to you for YouTube that was a good idea. Like it can do really well because it will actively try and push the content out to people.
Okay. Last question. You're obviously very up to date with everything. How do you keep up to speed?
In what respect? Of what's going on?
Yeah, exactly.
Having a lot of very smart friends and put myself right rooms. So like I said earlier, like people solve problems. If you know the right person and you have the right friends, like we just send shit to each other and like, oh, you should do this, or like send each other stuff all the time. So it's like, you have the right network of friends and you're in the right environment, you can have the right principles of thinking, it's all quite logical. And it's also experience.
Yeah, perfect. Money and people.
Yeah, it's true, right?
This is more for Aidan, the first one. So like with Hubstaff, we started using that. Didn't realise how expensive it was first. And a yearly bill come out about $600. But it doesn't seem to track all the hours. I don't know if my VAs are just coming off for it or not. But like how accurate is it? Like if they stop scrolling, like how quickly will it go off?
Yeah, checking on your like setup and the way
So depending on the way it's being set up, you can also like invite people in. So it should be less than that in terms of your cost when they're added internally instead of like when they're added externally. I don't think we could do it. I think we have monthly on it. Check the fashion actually. But the key thing with this Hubstaff is incredibly accurate. If it's not being used on a desktop or they're not using the app, it will show you that it's just mobile hours logged. Now that's a fundamental problem because if you're paying people to do DM setting and they want to go and go high level or Meta Business Suite or any software, they're not supposed to be on their phone. If they're on their phone for outbounding, the SOP is that they still have to open Hubstaff, they still have to log their hours, and they just leave the screen open, and then every 10 minutes it takes a screenshot of what's on their screen, and it also shows you a list of all of the links that are running in the background. So, for example, we've fired editors because we'll see 6 hours a day of mousemover.com.
Dude, I was going to give an example of this. Like, this is why you cannot trust anyone. Like, I was a bit of a degenerate when I was an estate agent and set up a massive online coaching business whilst working full time. Like, you have Filipino editors and setters, like, they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing a lot of the time. Like, we had someone who had a mouse tracking software to like move her mouse on Hubstaff, but we had a software to catch her doing that. Like, you just can't trust them.
Yeah.
Would you put your EA on it? Obviously, she's full-time now.
Yeah, I think your person sounds sick, so I would get her to like, almost like the enforcer role of just giving people shit. Yeah, just it's not even just checking. Like, a lot of it is just knowing. I'll give you an example. When I was an estate agent, this would put the fear of God into you, is that all the calls were recorded, and like in meetings, I mean, once every 2 weeks, they would play a call in front of everyone, like everyone in the business. And like, no one wants to be the dick who has the call played out and you sound like a fucking idiot or you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. So it's like, that's almost an example in terms of where you want to be trying to catch people out. It's like, if they're not doing something, is like publicly naming shame a bit, or also being known you could be caught out. That's what keeps people online a lot more.
Yeah, because what was worrying is like the Hubstaff report would come in as like, they all have an 8-hour shift, 4 VAs, and all 6 hours, 5 hours 35, so like they're obviously not moving it. Or I think my head VA says, to be honest, I just use my phone, I've been doing it for years. So he's been with me 3 years, you know what I mean?
Hubstaff essentially works as a clock in, clock out system. So if they clock in, until they clock out, it'll stay running. So if they forget to turn it off, it'll show 23 hours a day active, but it'll just show inactive during these windows. So one of the first things on this as well, when you're introducing it to a team, if you want to do it from the point of view of not saying, hey, I don't trust you to do your hours, right? You can also pitch it in the way of, this is actually to get feedback on the business. Because it will show you everything down from mouse activity, keyboard activity, you can then use the Hubstaff reports to see what your peak hours actually are, right? So if you see from 4 o'clock till 8 o'clock every single day, huge increases in mouse activity, in keyboard activity, you know that that's generally the peak hours where you're going to want more coverage. So we do it for 2 reasons. One, it gives like direction from a business point of view, schedules, time and cover. We also see that if there's a drop in calls booked, Hubstaff suddenly stopped working that day, but they were definitely online. So a lot of the time, like, it's not missing the hours. If they've downloaded the desktop app and they're using it, it's what they're logging is what they've actually done. So that's going to be the first thing. You can position it in a way of like, it's actually for business decision-making purposes as opposed to just time tracking, but a lot of the time it comes down to the fact that they're just not doing the hours they say they are. You know,
And you're catching them out doing it. Yeah. That's why they don't like it.
Yeah. We had a VA before try to charge 15 hours a day. I'm like, there's no way they're sitting 15 hours a day trying to do DMs. On Hubstaff, it's like 4. And then it's like, okay, you can realize where people have to go.
Hey Charlie.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what's the best way to increase referral rate? Because I think it can help us to increase our profit margin.
1 to get better client results, 2 would be get results faster with clients, and then 3 would be actually ask for referrals to incentivize clients. So in our fitness business, we give each client who recommends someone else $200 as a referral fee, and then we give the coach $50 as a bonus for doing a good job. So like, you incentivize people for the outcomes you want, but and also remind them. So like, oh, like, James, you've done sick, you look amazing. Like, do you have any other friends who would like the same type of results you've had? A lot of times just asking the question and framing like that. And if you catch them when they're on a high as well, it's a great thing to do. But fitness, the most important thing is actually getting them result. Because if someone goes from being like 20 kilos overweight and then go to a wedding 6 months later and like, what the hell happened to you? Everyone's going to ask, like, oh, what did this do? Did this? And like, oh, what's his Instagram? Like, that happens a lot. So if you just get really good results, you'll get a lot of referrals just off of that. I think Harry Knight's review, you had an example of that. Like, when your clients crushed it at the photo shoot recently, right? And you've got 3 clients come off the back of them already in like a week. Yeah. Just because the result's sick.
Makes sense.
Cool. It sounds like a lot of this is like, you know, a lot of talk here was like focus on the basics. A lot of this stuff is like just execute really, really well at the basic stuff and just do a really high level job and just be super aware and analytical, and then the results come from the back of that.
So one more minute.
Sure.
Just on ads, let's say ads setup then for all of us guys. Majority of what I do is boosting like traffic to get like follows 60, 70p. What percentage of your ad spend would you put towards like retarget or like what do you guys do, like VSL? Like, just stick with like just boosting.
For you right now, if that's working, I would rinse that. I would put probably 10 to 20% into like retargeting. So
specifically, are you based or like social proof?
I would retarget with a mix of different things, just try and send people direct to call booking links. So I would do like you with a photo with a client who's in great shape with maybe like a card or some text that says something like, I don't know, how Harry lost 20 kilos, or video testimonials, like that's crushing it for you, Dom. Like things like that directed to a cool booking link, because you don't have to spend that much on them, but they're super high impact. But what you'll also find is that those ads being forced in front of people will actually help you convert people in the DMs, because they're constantly seeing you crushing it at client results, and you're just pushing it in front of people all the time.
Push that to your followers.
Yeah, I would do it as a retargeting to profile visitors and engagers. And then the best way in terms of from an ads perspective for retargeting is I would use 4 different ad sets. So one would be website visitors. If you have websites, it will track any website you've got your pixel on. I would do 2 would be your 7-day audience of Instagram engagers and profile visitors. The next one would be your 90-day audience, excluding the 7 days. So everyone who's visited your profile minus people in a week. So you're like segmenting people. And then lastly would be 365 days, excluding 90. Generally, you'll find the 7-day audience tends to be the best because they're the warmest. 365 is a big audience generally, so it can re-engage a lot of people, but I would put it in what's called a CBO campaign budget optimization, and it will,
As long as the frequency doesn't spike. Okay.
But even like on retarget, if it's profitable and crushing, I don't really care if it's like 8, but it doesn't really matter. Because like, can you show social proof too much to people? Like, you're not going to spend huge amounts on it anyway. So I would probably put, if you're doing £200 a day on boosted posts, I'd probably put 20 on that maybe as a retarget.
It's just off the back of that, if you've got people booking in through the VSL that you've retargeted, how do you then get them warmed up if they haven't been in a present conversation? I know you said about the WhatsApp video, but is there any work to do?
Just qualifying one. It depends what the landing page looks like you're booking them from. So one of the things I would use is you can use like a slide deck or a VSL video that they land, and just making sure that they're qualified, like the questions are quite strong on the qualifying. It depends on the problem you need to solve, right? So if you're loads of calls coming in but they're terrible, then I would like put really strong qualifying questions in there. If they're not, and not getting enough calls, then I would reduce them. So for us, our direct to call booking funnel, we had to put a lot more higher qualifying questions in there because we were getting a lot of poor leads come through that we were then just having to cancel. So try and fix the problem if you have, if that makes sense.
Do you use a different call booking link attached to that VSL? So
Yes.
you know they're coming from that?
Yes.
And then with that slide deck one, I basically ripped off what you did for
Yeah.
vegans. The question that I have is, are you finding that works better than the traditional one, which is like FAQs, loads of stuff here, so just keep it really simple?
Keep it simple, and the reason, so we will track our calls using Hyros, like an ads software, but we also do a different calendar link so that from the sales team perspective, when the call comes in, it will say like diagnostic VSL on it, so they know like how to almost handle that lead, that it's going to be slightly different. And also none of the setters will have claimed it. So like one of the best things for anyone in here, if you should have a DM setting team, they need to claim their leads when they book the call. So for us in Slack, they'll put like their own emoji on it, like when they book it. So then we know who owns that lead essentially.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Cool. I hope it's helpful. I will go on my ex.
Where do you track your billing for clients in terms of what they owe, how much they owe, how frequently they actually pay you?
In terms of like Stripe and Notion.
So we have like a spreadsheet, an allocation sheet with how much they owe, how many programs they bought, etc. Their monthly payment amount is quite flexible, but it's chunky. It's not ideal. How do you streamline that more? I know HubSpot obviously we could use, which we do have, but I'm concerned with user error happening, that people would fall to the cracks. How do you prevent that?
Another way actually you can do it, Hyros also tracks this for us. So it gives us LTV and CAC automatically.
Reports, I'm assuming it's the same thing?
It will come up. It should come up on your dashboard depending on how it's set up. So like Hyros can be set up a lot of different ways. So ours we have LTV, like everything on there. Like you can pretty much get any number you want from that if everything's plugged into it. Yeah, you can, like there's so much stuff on there you can do. It's insane. I haven't even looked at most of it, but like I'm trying not to overcomplicate it. But you can do anything, LTV, CAC, anything you want.
Thank you.
Cool.
So we use like a custom built CRM. So we started with a blank page and built out everything we need for like client tracking. So all relevant information, updates on coaching, how far through their coaching program they are, when they started, when they're due to expire, if they're making and processing all their monthly payments, and then the admin department on the back end will go through and literally tag monthly, payment received, payment made, next payment due date, and that gets updated dynamically pretty much on a daily basis. One of the key things of like any business is being all over tracking finances. So if you're tracking finances like once a month, that's massively problematic. So I wouldn't run a report like at the end of each month because you're going to have a lot of stuff fall through the cracks with that.
Everything needs to be done weekly with finances, minimum. Like if you had a big enough business, you would do it daily, but weekly I would do. It's what.
Weekly, but
yeah,
like.
So
it does come across, yeah.
Cool. Any last questions? Cool. One more. Right. Aidan, do you want to bring one more?
In terms of retargeting, could you do like, because I'm doing some ads in retargeting that are like, I'm looking for 5 guys, whatever, an SMS ad for retargeting.
Yeah.
But so you said put a CPO. Would you mix in the CPO testimonials and those ads, or you put 2 separate CPOs?
So what I would actually do with the testimonial ads, I would put them in a different ad set, because what happens is the testimonial videos won't end up getting played because the engagement is generally not very good. So it will tend to optimize for the other videos. So I would try and force the platform to use the other ones. What I would do if you are going to run retargeting ads and do them as a video, I would also try and use copy directly calling the person out. So like, you keep seeing our results, yet you haven't taken action. You've been following me for X amount of time, but you're still sitting the fence. I can see you've been checking out my content because of our fancy ad tracking software, so I'm retargeting why you're not in shape yet, like whatever. Like play around with it with that type of framework, like directly call the person out. That works pretty well.
And that direct to a call booking link or to a conversation?
I would do direct to call booking link because they're warm. Like if they're engaging with your profile all the time, and it also can save a lot of the heavy lifting. And the chances are you're probably engaging with them anyway in DMs. Like a lot of the leads we have that will come direct for an ad have already been in a DM conversation, but the ad just books them in.
And you don't put any video in the call booking link, just straight up the calendar?
We don't put any what in the booking?
I mean, you put the ad, they click and straight up the calendar, nothing.
We would put them onto. You could do just a landing page with a calendar. I would probably have something. I'd probably have a video and then also the call booking underneath. To be honest with you.
And what to put in that video?
I would talk about what you do. So it's like a VSL. So it's like we help guys do X, Y, Z in X time frame. Here's all our client results. If you want to find the bulletproof method of how we use our metabolic priming method to do this, hit the link below and I'll walk you through the whole process so we can get in great shape.
Perfect.
Sounded pretty good. I made up off the top of my head, but that's what we do.
We use that one.
Yeah. Still on.
What do you think is not changing in the fitness industry?
Not changing?
Not changing.
Okay, that's a great question. People are going to keep getting fatter and there's going to be a bigger demand for it. And also, I think if you look at, see people laughing, but it's true, society is becoming more narcissistic and more like extremes. So like more people want to be in shape, and then there's a lot of people who are definitely not in shape and also getting confused. So in my opinion, the demand is going to continue to increase, because I heard this talked about yesterday on the podcast, and it's really good. If you look at, they were talking about mobile phones. So when mobile phones first came out, I think it was like 1989 or something stupid. Like if you walked around with a mobile phone, people thought you were a dickhead and a weirdo. Like, why have you got this massive brick? Like, who do you think you are? Now every single person on the planet has a mobile phone. And the 2 reasons people end up adopting things is, 1 is a habit and 2 is like herd mentality. So if it becomes normal for people to have an online coach, more people will do it. It is becoming more normal for someone to be coached on the internet to how to get in shape. Whereas when I first started doing it, it was like the weirdest thing in the world. Like, I think my parents still think I'm a personal trainer. Like they do not understand. Like that generation doesn't, but if you think people who are 20 right now, in 10 years' time are going to be 30, they're the type of people who are going to have money and also who will be open to paying someone on the internet to help them because they have that mindset. And I also think younger generations are much more inclined from a mindset perspective to invest in themselves than maybe older generations from the past. Like, cause if I said to my parents, I'm not going to university, I'm going to spend $400,000 to people on the internet to help me. What the fuck is wrong with this kid? Like, you retarded? Like, it's like, But that's the world we live in, right? Because university is seen as a safe thing. These people online are seen as a scam. In my opinion, the reality is actually the other way around. Because if you look at what a doctor gets paid when they go into NHS, it's like £17 an hour. Like, it doesn't actually make sense. So
Who's the one being scammed?
the people who play the system. So it's like you have to think from an observer at a bird's eye view of it.
Cheers, thank you.
Alex.
So we'll do this as the last question.
Yeah, I'll go.
Thanks, Charlie. So we have 6 closers and we have 1 head of the sales team also taking 5-6 calls a day himself. And he's managing very well, but I'm trying to decide where to go from here. Our biggest bottleneck right now is not enough closers. So do we bring a second manager in? Do I get him off the phones just managing? But then we also have the second issue of our back-end programs are very soon going to outgrow what I can do, which means that has to be filled as a responsibility as well.
From a fulfillment standpoint?
No, as in like selling our 10K products.
Okay, you basically need someone to come in as like head of recruitment. So like your guy who's basically the managing the sales team, I would try and pull his calls in half or down to only takes a couple and just be like, your sole job is just to find your old replacement and then find someone to probably replace some of your calls.
And how do you commission him on the new sales trainer he's going to bring in to manage another 4 or 5 closers?
I'd probably incentivize him with some type of bonus when you hit revenue targets. So like depending, okay, when the new closer comes in, when we hit X amount of revenue, we'll give you this many points on the revenue or something. So like we'll help build you into the team. I was trying to structure it into a performance basis so then you win together.
So am I getting a second sales team lead is my question? Or
I wouldn't, I would just keep him and his job is like come out sales more, recruit and train, and then just manage everyone else. Like and take the odd call here and there just so he's like still has a skill and shows the others how to do it.
And have you seen people who that team lead is actually managing up to 8, 9, 10 closers? Is that possible? 6 to 8?
You could do 8 to 10. If that's all you're doing is managing closers, you can do that. You probably, once you go over that, going to be a point you need someone else because you can't, even just reviewing the calls is a lot. So, but with AI, it's now getting easier, so you can also just run a lot of it through that. So that would also be something. So like I made some training for this on school the other day, but one of the things I use AI to analyze a lot of our sales data and then make reports.
That's a bit better. Thank you.
That's right. We'll break for lunch now, I think. So
yeah, awesome. So quick.
So this is a wrap up of the exact frameworks that are scaling right now in 2025. And the reality is, if you're not a step ahead of the game, you're going to get left behind. And if you're in a position right now that you don't know what to do to move your business forward, that's probably why you feel overwhelmed and anxious. Being overwhelmed and anxious becomes because you have too many options and you don't know what to do. Clarity and conviction comes when you know you just have to do this one thing and execute like a beast. And that's exactly what we help you do at 7 Figure Scaling Systems. We help you find the one bottleneck in your business, we help you solve it, and we help you grow to the next level. And if you want help in terms of how to do this and how to be our next success story, hit the link below this video. You can book in a free call with us and we'll find out exactly how we can help you and how we can take you to the next level. If you took value from the video, make sure you smash the like button, hit the subscribe, and we'll see you next video very soon.